Hello and welcome back to Project 380. On today's episode I'm going to be upgrading the rear suspension. So of course I've gone for the destroy or die complete rear suspension setup, and that consists of shortened rear lower control arms, adjustable rear upper camber arms, and the rear super knuckle. And to go with this I've got the full polybush set from Energy Suspension. I'm also going with the alignment bolts and the alignment locks from Skidnation. So the first upgrade I'm going to be installing today is the rear lower control arm from Destroy or Die. And this comes with a lot more benefits over the standard one. The first reason, and the main reason I'm going for these, is it eliminates the common problem with the captive nut in the standard arm. They've done away with the captive nut system and they've gone with a threaded boss that is welded in, and there's no way the elements can get into there and seize the bolt in. And as you can see, it's a tubular design, so the weight is reduced and it should be a little bit stronger. And these are perfect for when you've lowered the car, as they are a little bit shorter. That's going to pull the bottom of the hub in, reducing the camber. As you know, when you lower the MX5, the rear lower control arm sits at a very weird angle, something like that, which then makes the hub sit at a funny angle. And by making these shorter, it's going to bring the hub in a little bit more, reducing your camber, and when you hit a bump it should reduce your camber gain. These also come with a new bolt to connect your suspension coilover to the lower control arm. A quick side by side of the old unit against the new before I put the bushers in and install it in the car. As you can see, they look quite different. They've got rid of the kink here on the old one where they used to bend if you hit a curb. They've got rid of the captive nut here, which sometimes breaks and stops you removing your coilover. And the overall length is a little bit shorter to reduce the camber. To install the Energy Suspension bushers into the lower control arm, the bushers have to go in a certain orientation. I'll start with the inner bushers. The bush numbers are 2696 and the metal inserts are 549. First of all, give them a good coating of lubricant, which is supplied in the kit. And then they can simply be pushed in by hand. The outer bushers are slightly different, they are handed, so you have an outside and an inside bush. The inside bush numbers are 2695 and the outside are 2999. And the metal sleeve is numbered 541. Now, installing these lower control arms into the subframe is exactly the same as the standard ones, but the trick is to try and put it in as straight as possible. Now, to secure these to the car, I've got the Skidnation alignment bolts. They are made out of 10.9 grade steel, so they're a bit tougher, and they've got a finer thread, so they can take a little bit more torque. But I'm going to be ditching the alignment washer and replacing it with the alignment locks from Skidnation. This is going to help me keep my alignment when I'm doing some aggressive driving or hit a curb. Then pop the lock assembly into the subframe. Then slide the alignment washer onto the alignment bolt. Then pop the washer on, and then the nylock nut. Once you've put the alignment locks in the certain orientation that you desire, it's then time to torque these bolts down. and because these are the Skidnation ones, they can take a little bit more torque, so the rears need to be torqued up to 120 Newton meters. So the next upgrade I've got to install today is the rear Super Knuckle from Destroy or Die. This is a dual caliper setup, so the standard caliper would bolt on here and your secondary one for your hydro would bolt on at the back. Looks a bit different compared to the standard rear knuckle. It looks like a stronger design. It's got a 30mm roll center correction, which is perfect for a lowered car, and it's going to reduce camber wear. And I also like that they've gone away from the split design at the bottom, which made quite a common problem with the MX5, releasing the big bolt at the bottom that connects the knuckle to the rear lower control arm. As there was a gap in the standard one, the elements can get to the shaft of that bolt. It could then swell up and you'll never get that bolt out again. In the past, when I've gone to change a rear lower control arm, I'd have to change the hub as well, as you just can't separate them. Now, these don't come with bearings or hubs, so you will have to supply them yourself. And ideally, you would want a press to install these. As you can see, I've already installed them as I've got access to a press elsewhere. So a side by side of the knuckles is a little tricky to do. Hopefully you can see that I've got rid of the gap in the bottom of the knuckle where the bolt goes through, and the distance from the center of the hub to the bottom is slightly different. To be able to use the Super Knuckle with the upper camber arms, you will need to use the bushers provided in the upper camber arm kit, as the metal sleeve insert has got a slightly bigger hole in it to allow for the camber adjustment bolt. Now, there are two ways of installing the Super Knuckle to the suspension assembly. You can either attach it to the upper camber arm first or the lower control arm first. I prefer to connect it to the lower control arm first, and what secures them together is a big pivot bolt. And you want to make sure this is really clean when you put this in, there's no corrosion on it and it's not swollen up, as it can be a real pain if you need to remove this in the future. If, like me, you are using the Energy Suspension Polybush kit, they do supply you with the two washers. Now, there are two different sizes. One has a bigger hole which goes at the front of the assembly, and the other one has a smaller hole that goes at the back of the assembly. So I'm going to start off by putting the bigger washer onto the pivot bolt and giving the pivot bolt a good covering with copper slip. And then pop the smaller washer on and the nut. Now, these need to be torqued down to 90 Newton meters. Now, at this stage we can go ahead and put our coilover in. So you need to remove the bolt that comes in the lower control arm. Remove the metal tube that's just there for transportation. Give the bolt a good coating in copper slip and pop your coilover in. You then need to torque this down to 90 Newton meters. And then you would do up the two nuts that are inside the boot. But I've parked too close to the wall and I basically had to climb in the boot to do so, so I didn't film it. And the same as I done on the front suspension, I'm going to put a coilover sock on the coilover to protect it from the elements. Again, I'm not going to put the zip ties on just yet, as I will have to adjust the suspension once it's on the floor. It's now at this stage, when the hub is still movable, that you would put in your drive shaft. Now, I'm not going to be putting in the drive shaft just yet, as believe it or not, this whole suspension setup is going to have to come off again to do a bit of work on the rear end. And the same goes for the anti-roll bar drop links. It's now a good time to put those in. But I'm not going to be putting mine in yet, as I am going to be upgrading them. I just haven't chose what I'm going to be upgrading them with yet. So the last thing on the list to install today is the rear upper camber arms from Destroy or Die. These come with a couple of benefits. They look like they're going to be a lot stronger. They've got extra clearance so you don't hit the subframe or the chassis when you lower your car. And you can dial in and out the camber using the eccentric washer on the top bush of the hub. So comparing the new unit with the old, as you can see, it's a lot wider across here, so hopefully making that a lot stronger. There's extra clearance here to avoid the chassis and the subframe, and of course the added benefit of the camber adjustment. The bushers that go in the upper camber arms using the Energy suspension kit are 2694 and the metal sleeves are 576. Now, to fit the upper camber arms with the coilover already installed, I've just found it takes a little bit of wiggling to get it in. Once you've torqued them bolts down to 63 Newton meters, you can then attach the hub to the upper camber arm. Then you can install the alignment bolt that comes with the upper camber arm kit. Now, before torquing this down, I'm just going to demonstrate to you how much camber adjustability you've got with this kit. So we're starting from all the way negative camber, all the way to positive camber. Now, I'm not too sure what to torque this bolt up to as it has changed size, but it is an alignment bolt like you would find on a control arm, so I would take an educated guess to torque this up to 90 Newton meters. This is usually the part where you would put your 2 brake calipers on, new disc and your wheel, but I am going to be upgrading all of those. But just for now, to show you how this dual caliper setup works, I'm going to be shoving on an old set of discs and calipers. So once it's all assembled, it's going to look a little something like this, but hopefully a lot less rusty. So how this works is this caliper here is your normal caliper. This goes on the standard brake lines and uses the normal handbrake. Whereas this caliper here is actually the original caliper from the other side. So this is the right hand side of the car, this is the right hand caliper, and this is the left hand caliper on the right side. So you don't attach a handbrake cable to this one, you just connect your hydraulic handbrake to it. And when I have decided what brakes and what hydro I am going to run, in the future I will do a video of the full install. But that is it for today. Everything I've installed in this video is down in the description below. If you like this video, give it the thumbs up. If you learn anything, leave it down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.